Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is April 12th, 2024, and you are listening to watching the Daily AI Show live. And I paused there for a second because it said we weren't going live for a second, but it seems to have gone now. So we're good. All right. So today we have Jyunmi, Beth, Karl, Andy, and I'm Brian, and we are doing our review today of the tool or the website, depending on how you want to look at it, called HyperWrite. Now, HyperWrite has been around for it's HyperWrite AI, I guess, technically, because it's AI.com. It's been around for a while, but they're doing some new, interesting things that are sort of adjacent, tangential to what their original website was. So I think what we'll probably do is talk a little bit about what they first came out with, similar to other tools, and then we'll kind of dive into what they're starting to play around with in terms of agents. They've also got some beta stuff that came out on GitHub, and I want to dive into that as well about what happens when you start letting agents loose on your desktop versus a browser or a Chrome. So we'll talk about all of that. Does anybody want to do sort of I think maybe Karl, I don't know if you're the best for this. You were sort of maybe one of the original ones I knew from our crew that was, messing around with HyperWrite. So you want to give us sort of a starting point here?
Sure. I guess so I first saw what HyperWrite, I think it was Matt Schumer in on X or Twitter, and he was started talking about agents and how they can do whatever they can do. So let's backtrack a little bit in terms of when we talk about agents. I like the definition of right now, most, if not all of the use cases for large language models for any type of AI is task driven. So here's a task, do it. Write this, create this, analyze this, give me insight on this, talk to me about this, give me a lesson plan, whatever it is. It's all very task-based. Like I give you instructions, you come back with a set or more complex tasks like like I guess a grimoire GPT, but it's still, here are your instructions. This is what you'll do with it. With an agent, it's setting your goals. So if you give a goal to an agent, it will create the tasks to accomplish that goal. So when I saw Matt Schumer's post on, hey, we built an agent that can do this, I was very curious about it. And so I'm going to share my screen on what that looks like. Now, preface this with HyperWrite's AI agent, I think came out 2-3 months ago. So, and everyone right now in the AI space is pretty excited about what agents could do. And you've probably seen Devin and Ethan Mollick, where he started playing around, like giving them actual goals, and it's starting to accomplish them. So here's a little bit, I would say, a little bit more previous version of Devin. And it's more browser based. And I would say it works. What is it? The Ron Burgundy line? It works 100% of the time, 60% of the time. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. So just an AI website, but you have to have the Chrome plugin. Now it was previously a wait list. So you would go to the HyperWrite website. You could, I don't think it's no longer a wait list. So you can just download the Chrome plugin, sign in, and you do get maybe one or two requests. I paid for this like month to month. I just really wanted to test it out. So I'm just going to go very simple. I want a Hawaiian pizza, about a medium. And apologies for those who don't think pineapple should be on pizza, but that's just too bad because I enjoy it.
It absolutely should. Just so that's clear, it absolutely should be on pizza. So
Karl, out the gate with controversy.
So again, with HyperWrite, I'm not. For those who can see me, I'm not touching my keyboard. It has opened its own browser. It's given the task, I want a medium pizza. So it is now going to Google by itself, and then it is searching for pizza delivery service. So it's actually, I'm not typing anything. It goes order medium Hawaiian pizza. and then it's thinking or whatever it is from the search, and it clicked on Pizza Hut. That's not the pizza I wanted, but okay. I'm not a big Pizza Hut fan, but it found a Hawaiian pizza. But it actually went back. I don't know why it went back. And this is why it works 60% of the time. And it keeps going, and it clicks on Pizza 73, another chain that I do not want to eat at, but that's fine.
I do love that it's like Pizza Hut, nah, and it goes backwards. Even HyperWrite's like, nah, that's not right.
And anything with a pop-up, it definitely it kind of either times out or it just stays there and it can't. So I have to actually it didn't like Pizza 73 only, so it went back to Google, found another pizza delivery service.
It's an extensive search.
It went to Papa John's. I'm like, of all the places that I don't like pizza, well, he gave me the 3. And
by the way, while this is loading, just because it happens to be pizza, I just saw the best post on LinkedIn, and it was from Kevin Dorsey, who goes by Katie. He's a prominent sales figure on LinkedIn, and his post was something like, "You ever see an idea so stupid that you think, man, that's actually pretty good?" And what it was somebody said like a shower thought, and it was like, "Why doesn't anybody do cold calling for pizza?" And it's like underneath it, it's like, "Hey, Karl, I saw that you ordered the barbecue Hawaiian pizza last week. Are you hungry?"
So, as you can see, it's not like it gets kind of the way there, but it's not. If I do it again, like if I pause this and it went, I don't know what it went to the French site of this. I'm not sure what's going on. So as you can see,
we're now with the French site of Papa John's.
Yes, because Papa John's pizza in French. I mean, everything's better food-wise in French.
So, so as that was just a quick demonstration of it's. This was again 2-3 months ago, so obviously the development has been much better, and Devin is, you can probably see it, but you can see glimpses of what it could potentially do. So if we're reviewing HyperWrite's AI agent, I would say I would give it like a 2 or 3 out of 10 right now.
Yeah.
But that was like a couple months ago, and we know in the AI space, a couple months is like a lifetime. So I can just imagine once a new large language model with higher reasoning comes out, it, I think, boosts everything that is coming. High reasoning means it understands your query a little bit better, and then uses the environment much better. So I'm interested in what HyperWrite will be doing after those new models come out with the high reasoning, and see where this is going.
And I will say my experience using the AI assistant was a little better, but I didn't give it as something as abstract or as complicated as, "Oh, please order me a pizza." Right? I asked it.
Also, where the pizza should be ordered, Karl. You're like sitting there going,
give it a little direction. No, but I tried a couple of things, and I was and what I tried was grab like an article, find an article, and then put it into a document for me. And that was the part that I was most impressed with. It was the fact that it could go into different apps, so to speak, or at least a website or web apps. I'll admit, I had my Google logged in already, but I asked it to grab the top 10 AI articles from TechCrunch and put it into a Google Doc, and it did it in like 2 minutes. That's the other thing; it's a little slow, but for my taste. But it did it, and I think you're right, Karl. I think just give it a little more time, and it'll be up there with what we're expecting for agents.
So I don't know if you want to go do a demo with me, because there's another thing that HyperWrite actually came out with, and it's very similar to, I think maybe you've all seen the Adept demo way back a year and a half ago, where Adept was actually like, you type in a specific, like, I want to search a house for whatever thousands of dollars, and it came out. Again, has a very tough time with that, but they came up with similar to what Adept actually came up with, is it records a process on your website, like whatever you're doing, and then it will mimic that process. So if you do something, so I don't know, I guess let's have some fun with this. If you have another example,
while you're
This is the
prepping
other
that
way.
demo, I want to say a couple things about HyperWrite and this particular web browsing agentic function. This was actually announced by Matt Schumer, the CEO of HyperWrite, a year ago, April 13th, 2023.
yes, right.
Demonstrated at that time. And I'm surprised at one level that it isn't much more proficient today than it was back then. And then Adept, just for context for everybody, Adept is a very highly funded and futuristic development of agents, and its demonstrations should be much more compelling and powerful than an agent in operating on the web using your browser. So, what have you got for us, Karl? You actually have a demo of Adept?
No, I don't have a demo of Adept because I didn't see an actual use case for it. Because I got the wait list and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I could do it. So it's very similar. It takes a different approach where you go through a website. So, for example, my daughter, we're always trying to schedule a swimming, and you always have to wake up in the 4:30 in the morning, and you're just refreshing and refreshing and refreshing to get to a certain page to register someone for classes, and it's a pain. So I was thinking, hey, if I could create this workflow, and I'm going to start recording. I've never used this before, so I'm just going to go here and swimming lessons. So I want to see what it actually does.
And for those who can't see the screen, it like sort of in between Karl's clicks, a little HyperWrite little bubble pops up and it says processing. We're kind of capturing as he's moving around the website. So basically, it's recording what Karl is doing on the website as he moves through to find like swim lessons and stuff.
Okay, so I'm just gonna let's hit this page. Get ready to register because well, maybe a couple more clicks. Search for courses. Oh, let's go back. Oh, it actually took that. Okay, so I'm gonna create it. So let's get right to the customer details, and we'll stop that, and we'll save that. So now we're taken to the HyperWrite website. Okay, and I have to log in to my own HyperWrite account.
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't just pull it up.
Okay, so as you can see, here are the steps. So I'm just going to run this workflow, and I want to see what it does. I don't know if I have to be on the City of Calgary's website for the web flow to start. Like, I don't know what it does. I just gotta go
Is
back.
it moving the mouse currently?
No, I'm doing that.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't get it. I don't know where this thing is, by the way.
Should be under your workflows.
Go to the
here.
Do you have the plugin installed?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, I can't use the plugin on their website. So okay,
there you go. That's where it is.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, there it is. Okay,
there you go.
Okay, so it did pull up the website.
Yeah,
and now it's got a list of actions that it needs to do that it pulled up on the right hand side that mimic what Karl had told it to do. So it is doing the swimming lessons.
So as it's going through this, can you all think of potential use cases where it would do this? Like, what kind of use cases do you think would benefit of this? I'm gonna think.
I've used it in the past as a cheap web scraper.
Okay,
because it's essentially a macro. So if you can teach it the recipe, it'll do it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So and then that's essentially what the AI assistant is it's an AI component combined with the workflow manager feature. And so the AI assistant figures out what needs to be built into a workflow and then does it. So so if you can imagine anything that you want to do repetitively on a website or a series of websites or anything like that, putting in the overhead to create the workflow and then just have the workflow run, it's going to save you a ton of time. The only details I don't have at the top of my head is how much of an automation you can make it. Can you schedule it to run at a certain time or multiple times a day?
Ooh.
And those kinds of things. And that's the biggest thing is, does it have a scheduler? And that I'm not sure. I'd have to double check that.
Yeah. Okay.
And also we would have to be able to, like, if you look at a real estate example and you're looking to buy a house, at least in the States, you would use a system called MLS, but let's go back 20 years. Let's go, 2003 when I first bought my house. Like, I remember at the time I was working at Wells Fargo Financial, and the real estate agent I was working with, okay, I want to see houses. Obviously there's the internet at that time, but she would come by my office like periodically and drop off a stack of MLS listings, right? That was as good as it got. They were sort of the gatekeepers because they subscribed to MLS or whatever. Well, over the years, obviously, internet and everything else, it's gotten much, much easier now for me to see a full 3D tour of a house. But I still have to put in different criteria and things that matter to me. And maybe it's a good school system. And there's plenty of websites that can do that. But because that stuff is updating, especially when the market is really hot or your supply is scarce, I might need very, very up-to-date information. And maybe it's a scrape sort of situation, Jyunmi. But if it was, and I don't know that it can do this, but if it was able to go gather that information and put it in a way that was super relevant and of the moment for me, that I could see like I don't know, it's not a well thought out. I could tell this is not a well thought out thought. I get that. But that's where my brain is like, oh, in a situation like that where I would want to run this automation, it's not to a static web page, because then you would just save the link. There's no value for telling it to go through all these steps. You would just simply say, go to the website. So if it already exists at a website and it's already curated, there's probably not a value to it. But maybe, Jyunmi, like you're saying, if I needed to go to 3 different websites to gather it, because maybe something I'm doing needs the most recent, weather data, I'm organizing T-ball for my kid or something like that. And I want to bring in what field we can go to, what the weather is going to be like, and maybe one other piece of data that are all sitting on 3 different sites, easily accessible, but maybe I need to gather that data somehow or bring it together. I don't know. I mean, it's like, it would have to some point take that information and then send it to you or save it or compile it, which is where it's, to me, at least this part, we're about to talk about that self-operating computer, which does solve for this, but it would have to put the information somewhere.
So what I want to point out with Karl's demo, I don't know if you still have like the that it was showing as it did it. I think one of the uses that I think what Karl showed is actually a really good use. You are looking for swimming lessons every year, but not during the year, right? He lives in Canada. They're not swimming, or maybe you are. Maybe you're doing whatever you're doing.
Indoor swimming. So yeah.
Okay.
Outside.
Swim outside.
We do that.
No
That's
matter what
Canada.
kind of year is. But if that website gets updated, and so that that link is not in the same place, it did not actually say go to this coordinate and click it. It said search for swimming lessons, and then click on swimming lessons, and then search for. So that kind of thing I think is really helpful. If you have something that you're doing episodically and you don't want to figure out where the link is in the new freaking whatever of the page. AI is great at that, right? Like, it takes it all in, it processes it all at once, boom, got the link, all that kind of stuff. I think this is a great use for that.
So what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen here and say, I want to go backwards and then I want to go forward, because Karl, where you sort of came in was HyperWrite's personal assistant, I think is what they call it. But they use the buzzword agent. I don't blame them. I would too. But when we think about HyperWrite before that, what I have up on my screen is kind of what they were originally known for. And there's many other tools that do stuff like this. So for instance, you could rewrite content, flexible auto write, Scholar AI, explain it to me like I'm 5, a writing assistant, a LinkedIn post generator. We've seen many, many of these where it's just running some sort of GPT-4, whatever it is on the back end, and it's just giving you a better answer, or not a better answer. It's giving you an answer. Sometimes, I don't know if HyperWrite does, I don't want to take anything away from them. They might be using a mixture of models here to a certain extent to provide a better answer. But text summarizer, things like this that are sort of baked GPTs almost that do a specific task. That's sort of what HyperWrite first, as far as I knew, that's what they came out to do. Then they came out a year ago, which I'm shocked to hear that was like a year ago, almost to the day, with what they wanted to do with the personal assistants. And then more recently, they have come out with something that they put out. Whoops, I didn't mean to stop sharing that. What they came out on, and it's actually on GitHub. And so let me share that really quick. And so they have something called the self-operating computer. And this is definitely a beta type deal. And what the idea here is okay, what Karl showed you you have to have a Chrome extension, and it happens entirely in the browser. So it can bounce from website to website to website as he demonstrated. But then they have something called self-operating computer that you actually would download onto you do a Python download onto your computer and you run it locally. So this is actually pretty cool. We messed around with this the other night. I'll show you what this screen pops up. It looks just like this on the screen. It's a big old green screen. And it says, ask a computer to do anything. You hit OK. And then you can quite literally do that. And the difference here is that unlike being tied to the browser, I ran several examples the other day where I was able to say, let me give you an example. Find the top pop song of 2003. Then open Spotify. So totally different app on my computer, right? Then search for it and play it. Okay, so in that example, we used a little bit of an LLM. We had to use something to go search for that information. So it decided to go open Chrome, do the search, find the answer, copy the answer, which it was using OCR for, then open up Spotify, paste that answer in there as text, and actually search and run and hit play. Now, is it perfect? No, like Karl was showing, it misses the mark because it's literally trying to figure out, it's taking GPT-4 vision screenshots. It's looking at your screen and saying, I believe this is where the square or rectangle is that I need to click. And actually, I'll show you, you can actually watch it run. It reminds me a lot of God Mode from back like a year ago, or Baby AGI, where you're seeing the process run as it goes. It's saying in the PowerShell, what I would need to do next is open it up on the desktop. Then it'll say, I found it. It's now active. Now I need to click on it to open it and press enter. And then if it does it, it'll say it. If it doesn't do it, it'll try like almost continuously. You actually have to shut down the PowerShell to stop it. There's no like stop feature. But it will continuously try, and it'll come up with different ideas like minimizing if I don't touch it, it'll minimize my browser so we can just see my desktop to then go and maybe find the file that I was talking about or whatever. So another example of that was like, let me just share this tab. Very, very simple. But this says, I said, do research on what the company HyperWrite does. Open up a Google Doc and write the summary in the Google Doc, and then save the file as HyperWrite test. And if you're looking at my screen, that's exactly what it did. It went and did the research. It opened up the Google Doc. It wrote the information into the document and then saved it for me based on what it did. So very, very cool. And I can show you, it unfortunately, to try to run it would be tough because it bounces between my screens and I also can't touch anything. And then for it to be all on the screen would be tough for this show, but I can at least show what it looks like in the, and I'll just have to do entire screen here. So this is what it looks like. This is just the PowerShell. So there's nothing new here. And if I go here and I do a operate is the exe, and then it'll pause here for a second, and then it should bring up the green screen. There you go. And then I hit OK. And then that's basically it. Now I'm just in the command shell, and this is where I would tell it to do something. So this is where I would say, like I just did before, I might say, do research about the podcast, the Daily AI Show, then open a new Google document and paste the answer in the doc. Save the document as DOS. Okay. Now, whether this will work, whether you'll be able to see anything, I'll let it go for just a second here, just to see if it'll move anything on this screen. But sometimes it moves it on my other screen, and then you won't be able to see it. So we'll just see if we get anything.
Just to clarify, because if you're watching this, we refer to ourselves as DOS, Daily AI Show, DAS. You are also watching a shell environment. And so if you're of a certain age, you might think that this is DOS, DOS, and it is like, where that was not what he meant.
Okay, so you guys can't see it because it opened it up and I can't move it. But here's what it's doing. It opened up Chrome. It searched the Daily AI Show podcast. It's now opening up one of the files about our show, or one of the websites about our show. It's telling us in the command prompt, you can see it. I'll press enter to start the search. It did that. So it's got the search, and now it's just waiting. We'll have to see what it thinks it needs to do next, because we have the search. So now it's saying, okay, that didn't work. I'll try another method. It did actually work, because I'm looking at it on it's opened in a new Chrome tab. Where it would go to pull a summary of the show, I'm not sure, because I didn't specifically tell it how to do that. So it's going to now just try different methods in order to pull that off. And so I'm just going to, for the sake of the show, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm also going to close the shell, because it will keep trying, and it'll just move my mouse from time to time to try to continue to try to solve the problem. So I just wanted to talk about this because, okay, it's not perfect. It doesn't work most of the time. I would not try to deploy this, but when you see things like what is it, Devin, and you see other things, this to me is the single closest thing I've seen to actually an agent running on your computer. It is capable of opening multiple apps. It is capable of doing research. It is capable of saving the results. To me, if there's a combination between this and actually what Karl, you showed with HyperWrite from the Chrome side, well, couldn't I start as the agent side and tell it to go run the HyperWrite workflow, then to save the results of that workflow and put it over here, and then do this other thing with it, and then go open up ChatGPT and do deep research into those scraped articles or whatever? I mean,
right.
It's pretty powerful. So what do you guys think? What's your take on it? Like, is this just smoke and mirrors, or is this actually something?
I think
sorry, Beth. I think it's actually something. And I am making like inference from information. I don't know this for sure, but Matt Sherman in the last couple of days has been posting on X about working with the base version of Mixtral 8x22v, which is that next model that is likely to have reasoning capabilities similar to Claude and those kinds of things. So when we were saying, hey, when the new reasoning models come out, that may in fact be happening. Don't know that that's their backend, that he may be doing a ton of other stuff. But he's been posting about this, and he's been sharing his process of like posting working with a base model, how to prompt, those sorts of things. And I think this is, yes, 100% exciting, right? What I'm looking for is the variable, is like, okay, hit this, ask me a question. What's the topic we're talking about today? And then go through the rest of the sequence, right? So that it's ever like you can add logic and that kind of stuff too, but what I want is to set up an automation that then can run about different things and just have a variable in it and prompt me and say, what's the show topic today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you might be able to get something out of what Hume AI is trying to accomplish with their product, which is that communication layer between the user and the other AI assistants and AI programs and things like that. So if that's successful, then you are one step closer to a more interactive capability, right? So you just ask your Hume AI, it's like, hey, I want to do all these kinds of things, but I'm not exactly sure where to start. Can you help me out? Or like you were talking about, Beth, ask me the questions. Tell me what do I not know? Those kinds of things, and just interact on that level. But I agree with you, Brian. I think this is super exciting. I love to see practical applications in the wild. As opposed to just, here's the hype or the release news of what we're going to do. So anytime I can get my hands on it and actually work with it, fantastic. I do want it to take this to the next step and have our AI PC where our models are local to the machine. Because even in this instance, it's still making calls out to whatever model that OpenAI or whatnot, even though it can manipulate things on your computer, but you can increase the responsiveness once everything's local on your machine. And it also helps with privacy and security and things like that if it doesn't always have to go out with your information. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess as we wrap up today, I'm curious to hear from you guys. I feel like HyperWrite has a bit of an identity crisis. I could be wrong about that. I haven't read all the X, posts and stuff like that. But here's why I say that. If you look at where they started, which nothing wrong, by the way, with pivoting a bit. It was a tool. I mean, at $20 a month, I will be the first to say, if you're just going to use it to write a LinkedIn post or whatever, I feel like that's way overcharged these days. Based on today's pricing of what's out there, I would not suggest somebody pay $20 for HyperWrite. I would just say pay it for ChatGPT Pro or Claude. I'd probably say Claude actually for writing, and say go as far as on it.
One second there. I want to ask you about that. I want to ask you about Claude, because we just saw that OpenAI, GPT-4 Turbo, their 2024 0904 version has surpassed Opus on the human eval thing. So that's what I wanted to ask you, is I would love to see you do your tests on the new GPT-4 Turbo, which has just been applied to ChatGPT Plus.
Well, I think it's only been applied to the APIs, and they're saying it's going to be applied.
No,
to
they just came out yesterday, last night.
So it's
all right. Sounds like we've got another show for next week.
Right now. Is that why ChatGPT won't do literally anything that I wanted to do? Not the topic of today, but I could do a whole show on why ChatGPT is seriously, seriously upsetting me.
And also, you were talking about Claude, you can access, because if you're in Canada, Claude is not one of your options in these writing things. Karl's option because he's
well. If you can access Claude, even Sonnet, I would say this. Look, I'm just comparing apples to apples here. Okay, HyperWrite. So explain this to me like I'm 5. Write me a LinkedIn thing. Summarize this email for me. Give me a better email response. Any of these, I just threw out 5, right? And there's more on HyperWrite. You could literally do any of those and at a high quality using the free version of Claude. Sonnet, the middle one, will do just fine. I promise you. I used it forever and ever on the free side. So paying $20 a month for that, that's crazy to me. Now, if you find some unique use cases for some of these workflows like Jyunmi was talking about, and you're running them a couple of times per month, and also they've got to be saving you X amount of time doing those workflows. Like you taught it once and now it's saving you time and energy for $20 a month. Sure. But you would have to have some really unique use cases at this point. And then we see what they're doing. And by the way, this is like, you can do the self-operating thing from GitHub for free. You don't need to pay HyperWrite. I didn't pay HyperWrite for anything. I just used the GitHub and downloaded it. But is that where we think HyperWrite is going? Because I wouldn't pay for their old services. Their middle services with the workflows are somewhat reliable. What are you paying $20 for right now? I don't get it. I mean, would you guys pay $20?
Well,
Karl is.
I paid $20 for Perplexity, which you can use Opus, and you can use it as a writing tool if you do the focus. So you can. There's ways around it, and then I also have access to the API, which then you can connect to. I think Peter McKay or McKay, whatever. Like, there's a tool that you can actually use it as a writing tool, like, and use the API to connect with it. So there's loopholes and workarounds to actually access some of these things if you kind of dig a little deeper. But in Canada, you can't just go to Opus and use it.
So are you going to keep using? Are you going to keep the subscription to HyperWrite, Karl?
No. I all I do is, so the reason why I use it for I actually bought it is it's part of my discovery presentations to businesses where we showcase and be like, this is what's coming in the next 2-3 months. This thing sucks, but you can see glimpses of what you can actually do with it. And that usually opens the mind. They're like, whoa. And I use a very simple example, and then it kind of blows people's minds when they actually, because that is literally the next thing that we're going to be looking at.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
I have a quick comment about self-operating computer, which is really what HyperWrite's going toward. And it's a very exciting concept for agents, but I think that it's going to be complicated, and it's not a trivial thing to solve how you work with an autonomous agent on your same device. So it's one thing to have Devin operating in a browser tab, following its goal execution and getting to a solution there. It's a totally different thing if, as Brian mentioned, hey, it's going to take over my mouse here in a minute, and I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the self-operating computer agent is going to be easier to deploy if you have a separate computer that you run the agent on. Has permissions and access to your Google accounts, etc. But it's a separate device. I have multiple. So I have multiple computers, and I can kind of switch around from them. But there's, none of them are operating independently. I think that eventually I'll set one up with an agent on it that I can give instructions to by email or just walk over to it, for example. And then it's going to operate on that processor and on that UI, and then deliver me back some results on my main workstation.
Right.
Yeah. Or a local VM. What's a VM? Greg is saying
Virtual machine.
Oh, virtual machine. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, Greg, real quick on that, he just mentioned about Claude. He said, I've moved about 90% to Claude lately, not because it surpassed ChatGPT, but because ChatGPT has diminished its usefulness. Greg, 100% on that one. Ready to test the new version and see if its attitude
That's
had
why
improved.
I wanted to ask you about what like their new update to it, because I was looking on X. There's a lot of people that are like, wait a minute, it's actually pretty good. It went back.
Okay, so I might just be caught up, and this is not this topic, but I'll just say this super quick since we're going into the weekend, and I definitely want to talk about this next week. I might be caught in that weird update bubble that sometimes happen with ChatGPT. What happened to me this morning is literally ChatGPT. I posted in the Slack to you guys. It straight up said, if you want browsing, you have to ask for it. And I was like, no, you don't. And it's like, no. If you want me to go to the internet and do deep research, and then it gave me this whole mumbo jumbo about privacy and stuff like that. And so I was literally rerunning prompts, sales prompts that I had written 6+ months ago. And I was like, wait. Luckily, I had the results of the prompts in my prompt library showing the examples. The old results were far better than what I was getting just this morning. Is that going to get better in the next 24, 48 hours? I have no idea. But if this is what the new model is, I ain't seen it. But I could just be in that weird bubble. This is a real-time thing. So I don't...
Because there was actually somebody who posted that it's actually doing web searches on the down low. Like you don't have to ask for it, but it's actually doing the search. Like the person actually put it in, and you know how like you have the Bing like little circle thing. It doesn't even do that. It actually provided the answer. Yeah,
what
I don't know. Like,
mine says basically what I get, Karl, is I say, go do this thing, go do deep research on this website and extract the content, blah, blah, blah. And it says, it gives me a very, very vanilla answer that then says, hey, if you want to learn more, you should go to this link. But it's the same link I gave it. What is the sense of that? Why do you need to give me the link back that I just gave you to ask you to do the research? Why would I need an AI if you're just going to tell me, hey, you know what would be a great link? This investor page for BlackRock.com. Hey, thanks. I thought about that actually, and I asked you to do that. So we're in this weird, like, pointing guns at each other, and I don't understand because ChatGPT is like, hey, lazy, go do it yourself. And I'm like, what do I have you for?
ChatGPT is that person in the meeting that you're with who repeats the idea that you just said 3 minutes ago as a totally new idea. Right. I figured it out.
The CEO that takes your ideas. Okay, we have to wrap this up.
2 years old and it's already quiet quitting on us. So
we have to wrap this up because we can go on forever. Obviously, hopefully you guys got something out of HyperWrite. Look, I agree with everybody else. I think the self-operating computer is super cool. I think the workflows could actually be really cool. The original stuff, that HyperWrite stuff, I think there's other ways to do that. We've discussed that. So what's our honest review? I don't know that we would necessarily pay for it, but keep an eye out for what they're doing, because very quickly they could have an update that just changes a lot of what we said about workflows, but they need to work, 99% or at least 90% of the time effectively before it's going to be worth anybody's time. Otherwise, you're just going to be frustrated. So, all right, next week we have a whole lot of new topics. What are they? I don't know. We're going to figure that out. And then we're going to come back and talk about them next week. So ChatGPT Turbo will be one of them.
I think it's so.
Come on back next week and hang out with us again. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks, Greg and everybody else. And we will see you on Monday. Until then, bye.
Aloha.